Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Annie and this is Historically Fashioned. Today's video is the second in a series looking at my collection of antique Delineator fashion magazines. If you're unfamiliar with what Delineator magazines are, they are a ladies' fashion magazine published by the Butterick Publishing Company. They were first published in 1869 under the name Metropolitan Monthly. That name was then changed in 1875 to the Delineator and continued being published under that name until it ceased publication in 1937. During the 20s and 30s, they did also publish a quarterly fashion magazine as well. I do not have any of those as they are well outside of my period. My latest magazine is early teens, I believe. So with that out of the way, let's have one more disclaimer here. This is, again, an antique fashion magazine. It was published in 1883. That means that the depictions of the people you see in the magazine are going to be one color. They're going to be white, they're going to be thin, and they're going to be women. You will also see white, thin children. You will not see any people of color. You will not see any people representing any other gender but cisgendered female. That's what they had. So I did want to let you know that that is an issue with these magazines because it was an issue at the time. There are also going to be things in these magazines that we today should find uncomfortable and find offensive. I know in this particular issue there is actually a story that I find highly offensive myself. I will not read that story, but it is there. It will be on screen for a brief time as I do flip through these magazines in their entirety. So I did want to warn you that that is indeed there. As a lot of people say, we like vintage fashion, vintage style, not vintage values. That definitely holds true here. I am a firm believer in learning from the past, not hiding it, not covering it up. I think shining a bright light on things that went on in the past is the best way to make sure that we don't repeat those mistakes and those biases and that bigotry that existed back then. So, with all of that said, let's go ahead and dive into the January 1883 edition of Delineator magazine. Okay, so here is the January 1883 edition of the Delineator. Once again, just like in the magazine we looked at last month, we have a full-page ad for C.J. Gunther's & Sons, which sells fine fabrics and fur-lined circulars and garments, all kinds of things. Then we have our monthly kind of roundup of styles. These are our seasonable styles for January of 1883. We've got the prevailing and incoming fashions. We talk about fashions for ladies, ladies' coats, and this will go on for many pages, telling you all about the things that one needs in order to be fashionably attired in January. Here's our first fashion plate. That is a lady's costume. We've got this braid detailing here and a super cute little hat with some very jaunty feathers. And then we have a really beautiful ladies visiting toilette. This is actually a mantle that is over the top of everything. We'll see a view of this one and see the front of it a little bit later. Next up is another lady's costume. I do love the detailing here on the hem of this one, of this kind of polonaise that she's got on. And of course, it's got box pleats on the bottom. They do so love their pleating. This is a lady's costume. This one I don't honestly love. This front pleat here, I don't know, it's just not doing it for me. Next up, we do have one that I really do like. This is the ladies' outdoor toilette. I really love the turn back here and all of this beautiful braiding going on there. And this really cute cape that's tied with a bow here, or at least has a bow trimming. Very cute. Here is a front and back view of the lady's costume, again with this really pretty detail down the front, and this back is just to die for. I mean, I love how the tails are kind of flipped up like that. Super pretty. Here is that costume with removable cape. It's definitely cute, and this bow that matches the shoulder bow. I love everything about it. Here we have an English morning robe. So this is going to be your cozy clothes for hanging around eating breakfast and stuff, I suppose, and maybe flipping through a fashion magazine. Nice big pockets. We've got a double-breasted polonaise. It looks like this is out of some kind of herringbone fabric or twill fabric. And then here is the ladies' wrap. I really do love this. I love the lace down the front, kind of all of it around the edge. And this detailing is just so beautiful. It's just so beautiful. Then we have a monk's hood and a lady's coat here. So I really love this concept of having just that extra hood that you can pop on in inclement weather, so that you don't have to have it attached to you at all times. You can just take it on and off depending on what the weather is like outside. And just a really simple coat, which I really love. I love the flat pockets there. Here we've got a shorter coat and a basque bodice. Next up, we have a lady's dressing sack. So when you're sitting there, you know, getting ready, doing your morning toilette for the day, or perhaps even evening toilette. Cute detail on the back. And here we have a lady's box pleated skirt. It's a pretty simple style. Here's that one that I'm not so thrilled about. Again, I just don't love those pleating. I love the back, but I don't love the pleats in the front. It just, I don't know, it doesn't do it for me. Okay, now we're going to move into styles for misses and girls. So these are going to be for young girls, not yet out, but not considered children so much anymore. Here we have a Mrs. Skating costume. She looks quite cozy in her muff and hat there. And here is a Mrs. Street costume. I do love this kind of detail for the pocket. And she's got a pleated skirt on there as well. Here we have a Mrs. Gabrielle dress, and we've got the front view here and the back view here. So very, very simple. And then we have a girl's blouse costume. So obviously this is for a much younger girl than this one. It's super cute though. Here we have another blouse costume. This one looks more like a sailor suit with that cute little pleated skirt and this very characteristic sailor collar there. And a girl's street costume. I absolutely love the soutache braiding on this one. So, so cute. Some more jackets here for the misses. I like this one, I think, the best. And here's the back views of these. I really do love. I think this one is my favorite. I don't love this one quite as much. Then here we have a box pleated skirt, very much like the one for ladies. It's basically the same thing, just a bit shorter. Now we're going to move into styles for little folks. I cannot talk today. Little folks, boys and gents. We have a girl's chemise, a Mrs. Sack night dress, the front and the back view of that. Here we've got a child's costume and a child's street toilette. I think we get to see another view of this a little bit later. Just as a reminder, sometimes during the Victorian era, we don't necessarily distinguish between boy and girl. As far as clothing goes, everyone kind of wore skirts to a certain age. So I think that these could either go for, you know, either gender, which I think is really fantastic. Here we have a child's apron. So to cover the cute clothing while they're doing their schoolwork or playing or whatever, so that they don't get ink and whatnot on their nice clothing. Here's another child's costume. Very cute hat going on there. Over here we have another child's costume. Not quite a sailor suit because this is kind of a round collar, but very cute. And here is a child's cloak with all that ruching on the back, and another child's cloak, which is much simpler. Here we have that apron again. You can see it's a full apron that goes all the way over and buttons down the back. And then it is, we've got a child's petticoat with a waist that's attached, but it's a long waist, so it goes down, you know, to about mid-hip or so, and then the ruffle comes off of that. This is an infant's sack with cape and hood. Very ornate for an infant for sure. I don't think I ever would have put my daughter in one of those, but very cute. Next up, we have some gentlemen's drawers and a little boy's shirt. And this, I think, is too adorable because it is a dog's blanket. It goes to show that it doesn't matter where we are in history. We love our animals and we want to keep them cozy and warm, just like we want to keep ourselves cozy and warm. Okay, so now we're moving into styles for dolls. Basically, dolls wore the same things that adults did or children did, depending on the age of the doll. So here we have a lady's toilette for a doll, and here we have child's doll's costume. Moving over, we've got some sets, a pattern set for a girl's doll that consists of a coat, a shoulder cape, and a walking skirt. And here's another set for a lady's doll that has a walking skirt and polonaise. And yet another set for lady's doll that is basically the undergarments and the night dress. Now we're going to move into hats and bonnets. I do love this capote bonnet, very, very cute. Check out all the feathers laying around this one. That is just, it says lady's bonnet. This is a cute hat. Look at that ostrich feather. That is really something. We've got the whole bird on this one yet again for that lady's bonnet. Here we have a Mrs. Round Hat, a lady's round hat, again with that bird. These poor birds, I'm telling you. And a couple more hats with full-on birds on them. Here's a lace chemise set. I really love the different layers of lace here. It's just so beautiful. And we have a fichu made out of lace and mull. And here is a really lovely apron and a lace and mull jabot. I feel like I need that in my life. Here we have a lady's fancy handkerchief and some ways to trim your waistcoats. Here is a way to trim an evening waist, and more ornamentation for another waist. Trimmings for the front of a skirt, and here is an ornamental front of your skirt. Again, look at all that ruching. And these pleats, oh, we all know how much they love their pleats. More trimming styles, this time for sleeves, and of course a flounce for a skirt. I think these two are my favorite sleeves. And then we have a decorated fancy front gore for a skirt. I love the daisies, absolutely adorable. Of course, you just have this one really fancy gore in the front of your skirt, and then the rest of it would be covered by any of the draperies or polonaise that you might put over the top. Here we have some arrangements of fancy pleats for skirts. A fancy trimming here. And more, let's see, this is a pinked and ruched for an overdress or skirt. So more trimmings. Here we have some scarf pins. Wow. So these look like they're for gentlemen, which I think is the snake, and I guess that's maybe an octopus there. Makes sense for gentlemen, but we've got a little parasol there, which I think is kind of funny. And then we have down here some gentlemen's scarves. Some flat scarves, a puffed scarf, and another flat scarf over here. Here we've got a collection of hunting whips. Everything a gentleman needs, I suppose. And here is a horseshoe watch case. That's adorable. Next up, we have a decorated panel for your thermometer. I guess you really want to make sure, I mean, back then when we didn't have central heating, right? You want to see what the temperature is for sure. And then here we have a hair receiver. If you're unsure what a hair receiver is, it is basically a little bag that women would keep hanging near their dressing table or on their dressing table, and they would stuff it with any of the hair that was in their comb or their brush, and then they would use that hair for making rats so that they could get the kind of, poofy styles of the day. I'm not sure what this is. Says it is a jardiniere, which leads me to believe that we're looking at the box here, and it's going to be, something fancy to, put your plants in. Over here we have another hair receiver, and this time we actually do have a pattern for it. So that's always fun. In fact, actually maybe this is the pattern for this, maybe. I am not 100% sure. It looks like it could be. I'm not sure. Anyways, I am working on the pattern from last month's magazine, which was a little thimble holder in the shape of a slipper. So I'm working on the video for that one, and then I will have that up. I may make this one up as well, and we'll see what it looks like. Next up, we have a work bag. Sometimes we call these miser's purses. It's basically a long tube of fabric. Oftentimes you see these knit or crocheted, and it has a slit down the center, and then these two rings here that you can push to either side so that you can access what is in the either end of the bag. Here we have some fancy letterings for your embroiderer. And here we have a tidy for a fancy table. And I think this is the last bit of, kind of for the work table stuff. This is a decorated lamp screen. So I guess you'd put that in front of your lamp, just to, make things a little softer as far as the glow goes. Over here we're talking about, again, we've got an article about fashionable trimmings, an article about fashionable millinery. We've seen all of those things earlier. And then we have a letter describing the Paris fashions of the day and the London fashions of the day. Here we're talking about masquerade costumes and evening dress. This is actually a story among the pines. I will not read this story just because it is one of those things that we kind of modern day people would consider to be quite offensive. From my reading of it, it seems to be talking about, an African American family, a group of African Americans that were, I think, possibly enslaved peoples. And so we're not going to read that. There's some offensive language in that. But yes, we do find these things in these magazines. Sometimes they are definitely a sign of the times. And we just have to remember that, they saw the world a whole lot differently than we did. It doesn't make it okay. It doesn't make it right. But we can definitely learn from it and hopefully not repeat it. Over here, we have items of fashionable interest. So they're talking about different frames for photographs. Apparently, salt cellars were quite the hot topic in January of 1883. And then we have talking about hands and how important taking care of your hands are, as I say that with cat scratches all over my hands. And then we're talking about pictures, also apparently hot topic of the day. This is interesting. This is kind of like bric-a-brac, so it's, kind of this and that going on in this section here. This one is kind of funny. They're talking about Friday and how women don't like Friday, and that Friday is a day of ill omen because if you start something on a Friday, you can't finish it before the week's over. So I thought that was kind of funny. Complete opposite to how we see Friday now. Here we're talking about the pansy, the flower, and we've got another kind of article about people, yeah, maybe not getting along, the apple of discord. So there's that. Once again, on this page here, we have the answers to their correspondence. And again, like I said in last month's video, these always make me laugh because they put somebody's name, but they don't like actually put the question, so you have no idea what the actual question was, which cracks me up. Here is somebody called the mourner, and they are telling the mourner that white may be worn at the neck and wrists with the deepest mourning. Crepe is usually worn a year for a parent. So they're obviously this person asked whether or not they were allowed to wear white at all, and whether or not, you know, what kind of fabric they should be wearing or how long they should be wearing that crepe. So I think that's funny. Here we have from Salome. They're telling Salome that it is customary to bow to a person when you meet on the street, even if you have met only a half hour before. So we've got fashion advice, we have got etiquette advice, all kinds of stuff in here. I think it's all very interesting to read through. Here we're getting into the advertisements. We've got E. Ridley and Sons, which are selling holiday gifts of toys, dolls, and games. More hair, lots and lots of hair. Here we've got an ad for bobbins, for ready wound bobbins, in fact. So they've already got the thread on them for your shuttle sewing machine. So that's super fun. Here we've got the shirring and gathering machine again, which I would just love to get my hands on that. And then we've got a couple of ads for watches, chemists, fancy work, all kinds of interesting things to look through. Here we are with rubber stamps and daters, shears, tape measures. This is a whole section on how to select your patterns when you are ordering Delineator patterns. And then we are talking about all of the different publications that are available through the Butterick Publishing Company. So the last page, of course, is a full page ad for the Delineator magazine. Okay, so that does it for our look at this month's magazine. I hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, I would greatly appreciate if you hit that like button down below. And while you're there, if you'd like to see more content like this, more flip-throughs of these magazines, more examinations of extant garments, and possibly a sewing vlog or two, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And next to that subscribe button is the bell. If you ring that bell, YouTube, maybe if it feels like it, should notify you of all of my uploads. So I guess that is it for me today. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in, for hanging out with me today. Have a wonderful day or evening wherever you are, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.